Many great warriors have left their legacy on the Star Wars galaxy. Individuals like Revan the Grey, who fought against both the Jedi and Sith, or Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, who was destined to bring balance to the Force. But also don't sleep on Coleman Trevor, Bath Dinosaur, full-time f***ing hero. These individuals fought for something greater than themselves. These were individuals who fought for the Jedi, or the Sith, or against some planet-killing asteroid. They fought to preserve order in the galaxy or eliminate the chaos. Or just to make Coruscant's climate more amiable to cold-blooded hadrosaurids, yeah. It's nice having a clear-cut goal in life. It gives one purpose, direction, and focus, which can honestly be really calming in a large, chaotic galaxy. But all these individuals I've mentioned so far were raised within the Jedi Order. From a young age, they were brainwashed and trained to fight on behalf of the light side of the Force. A lofty and noble goal, I guess, but one that is ultimately born out of ideological belief and forced upon its members, which is why it's not surprising that Anakin and Revan will lose their way eventually and become the very thing they were sworn to fight. Unlike Coleman Trevor. Now, other individuals in Star Wars are a lot harder to figure out, like Boba Fett, who also is about to have a new TV series come out in a few weeks. And I think he deserves it because he's the only Star Wars character to literally claw his way out of a Sarlacc pit. It is a little awkward as well because we all thought Boba Fett's story ended unceremoniously just like his father's. A fitting death for an individual involved in one of the most dangerous games in the galaxy. And the Fetts were kind of crazy because they were oftentimes fighting Jedi. This was just mere men going up against living gods. But no, Boba Fett, who was just supposed to be a minor character in The Empire Strikes Back, is back. And yeah, he's gonna get the full Disney Plus treatment. But my question has always been, what drives the Fetts? What makes them interesting enough to have a show? Is it just the armor that makes them cool and popular? Because if that's the case, I'm worried about the shallowness of the Fetts kind of hampering how the show runs. I mean, what's clear about Boba Fett is that in order to understand him, we have to understand his father, brother, and genetic source material, Jango Fett. The canon version of Jango Fett is very limited, but in Legends, his story is fully fleshed out, and I think a lot of this will be canonized very soon. On one side, you had the Death Watch, a group of traditionalist Mandalorians who refused to evolve and change their bloodthirsty and destructive ways. On the other side, you had the New Mandalorians, a bunch of pacifists and idealists. And in the middle, you had the True Mandalorians, a group of mercenaries led by the charismatic Yaster Mareel. He developed the Super Commando Codex that was designed to bring order and stability to the way the Mandalorians conducted their business. It's like really basic rules like honoring your contract, not murdering your client after they pay you, and not killing innocent people and women. Something that the Death Watch all did. Jango Fett's family would be caught up in the fighting, and his parents would be murdered by the ruthless Death Watch. The True Mandalorians find Jango Fett and give him a chance to exact revenge on his parents' murderers. Jango Fett would never look back after the tragic events of Concord Dawn. He would join Yaster Mareel's True Mandalorians and fight as a captain in his mercenary army. His normal life as a farmer on Concord Dawn was gone, and now he had purpose and drive as a young man fighting for coin and his new adopted father figure. But eventually, tragedy would strike and Death Watch would lure the True Mandalorians into several traps, killing Yaster Mareel. And Jango Fett would take over for a short time, but he too is lured into a Death Watch trap and the rest of his men are killed by the Jedi. Only Jango Fett managed to survive the ordeal and is sold off into slavery for several years before he can escape. These experiences were forced on Jango, but through sheer determination, skill, and a little bit of luck, he manages to survive it all. He would develop a reputation for being one of the best warriors in the entire galaxy, and that is ultimately why he was selected by Count Dooku as the prime clone genetic template. It was during this period of time that Jango Fett would first show interest in something else aside from money and survival. As a part of a deal to help the Kaminoans create their army, Jango Fett wanted one completely unaltered clone that he would raise as his successor, Boba Fett. Now, Jango and Boba Fett's relationship is not exactly that of a father and son. It is known to both individuals that Boba is just a younger version of Jango from a genetic standpoint. They are as much brothers as they are master and apprentice. And while Jango does not show much affection to Boba in front of strangers, a fellow Mandalorian who is close to both individuals, Cal Scarada, once recalled Jango Fett holding Boba Fett and looking lovingly at him as if he were his son. He would then say that Boba Fett was his son and that he was more important than all the credits the Kaminoans could ever give him. You see, most people misunderstood the Mandalorians and individuals like Jango Fett, where they saw a ruthless, cold, and calculating dinosaur murderer. What they forget was that this man saw his entire family murdered in front of him when he was a child, and he killed this first sentient being shortly after. This is a man who had to become hard at a very young age or be left behind to die from exposure or some other horror. Yeaser Mariel and the Mandalorians took him in because they sensed strength and courage inside the boy. And although Yeaser Mariel was a fighter and he didn't show much love to Jango Fett either, Yeaser definitely cared about Jango and tried to raise him in the best way possible using the Super Commando Codex. And this too would be how Jango would raise Boba.
Jango Fett was a common bounty hunter. How he acquired that armor is beyond me.
Now sure, Mandalorian Prime Minister Almec might question if Jango Fett is actually Mandalorian because he was born on Concord Dawn, but being Mandalorian has never been about where you're from, it's more about the path in life you choose. And judging by the life that Jango Fett lived, he was far more Mandalorian than Almec ever could be. Plus, many Mandalorians were foundlings like Jango Fett. You have Din Djarin and Kal Skirata, for instance. Jango Fett would raise Boba Fett like a Mandalorian as well. This means introducing him to danger and combat at a very young age. During one routine mission to capture a rich Twi'lek's runaway daughter, Jango and Boba Fett hire a team of mercenaries, far more than is necessary for the job. The idea is to train Boba in the field and have enough backup in case things go wrong, or so everyone thought. Instead, two members of the bounty hunter team decide to betray the Fetts and turn their blasters on them. It's at this point that young Boba would spring into action and kill both individuals. The young boy clearly has the skills and reflexes of his father, but then it came turn to deal with the third bounty hunter who did not take either side in the turmoil. Jango allows Boba to decide his fate, and Boba lets the bounty hunter live another day, but takes his share of the profit. This is a really important scene that will tell us a lot more about what kind of man Boba Fett would grow up to be. Boba Fett lets the last bounty hunter go because he assesses that he was not a part of the plot to steal the bounty. Furthermore, he wanted the rest of the bounty hunter community to understand that Boba Fett was no joke and could take care of himself despite being a child. Now, it is possible that Jango Fett just set this all up in order to test Boba Fett, which might seem like bad behavior for a parent, but it's pretty much what the Mandalorians are all about. But no matter what it is, Jango Fett has clearly taught Boba Fett well, and he's also apparently taught him some of the Super Commando Codex, which generally frowns on killing people who have surrendered. Now, the Super Commando Codex might seem like some kind of ideology, but it's actually a very pragmatic set of rules which kind of brings some kind of stability and expectations to an otherwise chaotic job of bounty hunting. The death of Jango came too soon. As well prepared as Boba Fett was for the real world, he was still just a child. He hadn't developed his own identity yet. He had followed Boba Fett around with stars in his eyes. To him, Jango Fett was the coolest and baddest mofo around. Immediately, Boba Fett is driven by the lust for revenge. As the son of bounty hunting royalty, Boba Fett would team up with his father's former co-workers Aurra Sing, Bossk, and Costas and try to kill Mace Windu. During the mission, Boba Fett infiltrates a Republic Jedi cruiser posed as a clone cadet. Boba has many opportunities to kill clones and take their lives along the way, but he decides to keep the killing at a minimum.
Don't shoot!
Don't worry.
Later, the other bounty hunters encourage him to execute one of the clone hostages they have taken in order to lure Mace Windu into a trap, but Boba Fett again refuses to kill innocent people. And shortly after, during an attempt to exchange hostages for Mace Windu, his bounty hunter team is scattered and he is left behind and captured. Boba Fett actually expresses shame for his actions in killing many clones and the destruction of a Jedi cruiser, but he vows that he'll never forget Mace Windu for killing Jango Fett. Now, Boba has learned a good lesson here. This was the first and probably last time he would act with emotion. His emotions got him in trouble because he basically started working with crazy psychopaths like Aurra Sing. Boba Fett would spend some time in Republic prison where he would continue to sharpen his skills and raise his own reputation amongst the bounty hunting ranks. When he was released, even though he was still quite young, Boba Fett had no problem finding a crew to work with him. He would become an enforcer for many feared strongmen like Jabba the Hutt and even Darth Vader himself. By following the same rules that Yeaser gave to his father and his father gave to him, Boba Fett had found stability and freedom in an otherwise chaotic profession. And throughout the entire time, he shows very little ambition for more power. He's just focused on the task at hand and at surviving. But then the whole Sarlacc pit thing happened and Boba Fett would disappear from the galaxy for a while. He would reappear once again in 9 ABY on Tatooine and save a dying assassin known as Fennec Shand. In return, she would owe Fett a life debt. Once again, a very ambiguous move by Boba Fett. Is he doing this? Is he saving this stranger because he's a compassionate individual, or is he doing it because he knows this dangerous assassin will basically owe him a life debt for the rest of her life? Fennec Shand was an excellent marksman and one of the more mentally balanced and predictable assassins in the galaxy. Not exactly a bad person to provide you with Overwatch. Boba Fett would also help the Mandalorian bounty hunter Din Djarin protect Gogurt after he returns Fett's lost armor to him. And he would honor his arrangement with Din Djarin like a true Mandalorian. It was only until after the little green guy was safe that Boba Fett would make his move and take on Jabba's throne, which Bib Fortuna had kindly kept warm for so long. Seriously, how did that useless pointed-tooth Twi'lek outsurvive so many other people? And so, as Boba Fett assumes leadership of one of the largest Hutt cartels in the galaxy, which I'm assuming is what the Book of Fett will partly be about, what does he want? Well, judging by his actions and behavior so far, the most likely answer is that Boba Fett wants to continue the legacy of his father and Yasser Mareel. Not by restarting the True Mandalorians, but by creating a criminal organization based on the Super Commando Codex. He wanted a bunch of disciplined and stable criminals, not a bunch of cutthroats and backstabbers. You see, Boba Fett and Jango Fett are simple characters. They lack character depth because they're too busy dodging blasters and detonators all the time. This, of course, is the only life they know, and they definitely enjoy the adrenaline rush of combat, and they probably have pride in their ability to succeed mission after mission. But what the Fetts hated more than anything were people who were dishonorable and broke the rules. Not just from an ideological standpoint, but because these people can cause unnecessary damage and chaos, which can lead to terrible things like getting shoved into a Sarlacc pit or getting your head cut off by a Jedi. This original trauma that Boba Fett suffered as a kid still probably haunted him somewhat. We see Boba yearning for a parental figure, and unfortunately, he goes to Aurra Sing, and Aurra Sing would definitely disappoint him. You see, every tough guy out there is only using their exterior hardness to protect the little boy inside of them, who most likely is still fighting the same demons they were plagued with when they were little. I mean, people aren't born tough. It really takes tragic events and trauma to make them tougher. And Boba Fett, the man who saved an assassin, does not want to be alone. Boba Fett, the leader of the Hutt cartel, does not want to start another war and cause more destruction and death. And so what is best in life is actually not crushing your enemies and seeing them being driven before you, or the lamentation of their women. What is best for a career soldier who has seen his share of death and destruction is actually stability. So that's what's going on with Boba Fett, and as you can see, he's not the most interesting character to base a series on, but he is a badass, and I'm sure he'll get a lot of kills. But what's more interesting will be the degenerates and other weird criminals he'll probably surround himself with. These are the color characters that are going to really liven up the series, in my opinion. Now, let me know in the comment section below what you think about my prediction, and let me know what you think is going to happen in the Book of Fett. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our coverage. As usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.